Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into, well, what is arguably the ultimate question, isn't it? The one that kind of drives everything.
It really is.
What on earth am I here for?
Yeah.
It's behind every big decision, every quest for something more.
Absolutely. And the framework we're looking at today, it presents itself as a very specific 40-day spiritual journey to answer that exact question.
40 days.
Yeah. And it comes with some huge promises. I mean, it claims to reduce your stress, simplify your decisions, and ultimately prepare you for eternity.
That is a staggering list of benefits.
Yeah.
So why? Why 40 days? What's the significance of that number?
Well, the source material spends a good amount of time on this. It's not a random number. It's presented as this period God has, historically used to prepare people for his purposes.
Okay, so there's a pattern here.
A definite pattern. It's framed as a timeline for genuine transformation.
So give us some examples. What's the historical weight behind it?
Well, the sources point to Noah, whose entire world was transformed by 40 days of rain. Then you have Moses, who spent 40 days up on Mount Sinai getting the instructions for an entire nation.
And Jesus in the wilderness.
Exactly. 40 days in the wilderness, being empowered right before his public ministry began. So the point is, 40 days is this concentrated period of preparation. A major shift is about to happen.
That really sets the stage. But before we even get to the answers, the material points out this massive flaw in how almost everyone starts looking. They actually call it the fatal flaw.
They do. And the central argument is that the whole search for meaning usually fails because we start in the wrong place.
With ourselves.
With ourselves. We're always asking these self-centered questions like, what do I want to be? Or what are my goals, my dreams?
And to be honest, that sounds completely natural. I mean, our entire culture tells you to look within and find yourself.
It does, but the sources argue that looking inward will, and I'm quoting here, never reveal our life's purpose. It's called a reversal of nature.
A reversal of nature. Wow.
The idea is, well, it's profound. You're the creation, not the creator. The answers have to lie with the one who made you. So you could be a massive success by the world's standards. Have the money, the fame, all of it, and still completely miss the point of your existence.
That's the core conflict right there. Worldly success and fulfilling your purpose are presented as two totally different things. You can hit every single benchmark society sets and still miss the purposes for which God created you.
A radical shift.
It is, and it's summed up in this one quote. Self-help is no help at all. Self-sacrifice is the way.
So the force is a choice, right? You either approach this whole meaning of life thing through speculation or revelation.
Precisely. And speculation is the world's default mode. It's philosophers guessing, theorizing, and a lot of the time they just end up admitting they're clueless.
There's that story about the professor.
Yeah, who wrote to 250 famous intellectuals asking for the meaning of life. And so many of them were just brutally honest, saying they were either making it up or they just had no idea.
What an empty place to start. It is. So the alternative is revelation. Turning to the Creator's Manual, which the sources identify as the Bible. And this leads us to the core premise, the single most important nugget of the whole journey.
Okay.
You were made by God and for God. And until you understand that relationship, nothing else in life is going to make sense.
And that leads us right into the first purpose. Purpose number one. You were planned for God's pleasure.
It's a beautiful idea, isn't it, that your very existence, your arrival, gave God great pleasure.
And this is where the concept of worship comes in.
It is, but with a much broader definition than most people are used to. Worship is defined as anything you do that brings pleasure to God. Anything. It's not just a Sunday morning ritual. It's this universal urge that's like hardwired into us.
So this reframes the whole idea. When most people hear worship, they think of songs or a specific building.
Right, and this clears up some huge misconceptions. First, worship is not for our benefit. If you walk away thinking, I didn't get anything out of that, you've kind of missed the entire point.
Because it's for God's pleasure.
Exactly. And second, the style is irrelevant. God likes variety. The sources make a great point that it's the lyrics, the intent behind an action that makes something sacred, not the specific tune or the medium.
So if that's the what, what's the how? What's the central act that defines worship?
The heart of it all is total surrender.
Okay, unpack that.
It means doing whatever God asks without reservation, without hesitation. It's just an act of complete trust.
And the prime example they use for this is Noah.
It's the perfect example. I mean, just imagine being told to build this gigantic boat miles and miles from any ocean.
And you've never even seen rain.
You've never seen rain. The sources say the Earth was irrigated from underground. So this command defied all logic, all experience, but Noah obeyed. He trusted. And that, the book says, is what makes God smile.
That level of trust, I mean, that's a goal. But the sources are also pretty realistic about what gets in the way.
They are, which is helpful. They list 3 big barriers to that kind of surrender, and they're things we all deal with. Fear, pride, and confusion. Fear stops us from trusting. Pride stops us from admitting we're not in charge. And confusion. Well, confusion just stops us from understanding what God actually wants from us in the first place.
This all ties into a much bigger idea, this eternal perspective that shifts our focus away from just the here and now.
It has to. God's ultimate goal for your life on earth isn't your comfort, it's your character development.
And the sources say he uses our circumstances even more than, say, just reading the Bible to do that.
That's the argument.
Yeah.
He uses life itself. Which brings us to this 3-part view of our time on earth. First, life is a test.
Test.
Right. Your character is both developed and revealed by tests. And we're not just talking about huge crises, it's the small stuff. How you treat a clerk, how you react in traffic. All of life is a testing ground.
But the sources offer a reassurance there, don't they?
A huge one.
Yeah.
That God won't allow a test that's greater than the grace he gives you to handle it. The goal is growth, not failure.
Okay, so first, life is a test. What's the second part?
Second, life is a trust. Stewardship. This is a massive perspective shift for most of us.
Because we see our things as ours.
Exactly. But the idea here is that everything we have, our time, our talents, our relationships, our money, it's all on loan from God. We're just temporary managers.
And they specifically call out money as both a test and a trust. How does that work?
The argument is that how we handle something temporary, like worldly wealth, shows how trustworthy we'll be with the true riches of heaven. It's a measure of your spiritual maturity.
It's a training ground.
A training ground, exactly. And that leads to the third point. Life is a temporary assignment.
We're described as, what, aliens and pilgrims?
Visitors, pilgrims, aliens. Our real citizenship is somewhere else. The analogy used is that of an ambassador. You're in a foreign country, but you can't get so attached to it that you forget your real home and your mission.
And our time here is just a blink of an eye compared to what's coming.
A blink of an eye. We're just getting ready for our real lives.
That whole framework, test, trust, and temporary, it perfectly sets up the other 4 purposes then.
Yep.
They're the nuts and bolts of that preparation.
They are. So after worship, purpose number 2 is all about learning to love.
Specifically, learning to love unselfishly, especially others in God's family.
Right. And the claim here is just. It's absolute. Life minus love equals 0.
That's radical math. I mean, what about all the other things we do? Great achievements, discoveries.
The suggestion is that if those things are done without love or at the expense of loving relationships, they don't have eternal weight. They're transient.
And to learn that kind of love, you need what the sources call real fellowship.
Yes, and that's not just, casual coffee after a service. Real fellowship has 4 really demanding parts.
Okay.
First is authenticity, sharing your hurts. Second is mutuality, really depending on each other. Third is sympathy, entering into another's pain. And fourth is mercy, forgiving immediately.
Forgiving immediately, but it also says trust has to be rebuilt.
It does. Forgiveness is instant. Trust takes time, which is a very wise distinction.
That kind of vulnerability is hard work, which I guess brings us to purpose number 3, growing to be more like Christ, discipleship.
And this one focuses so much on our weakness. It's the complete opposite of the self-help gospel. The material argues that God loves to use weak people.
He chooses what the world considers weak to shame the powerful.
Exactly. And that should be incredibly encouraging because, none of us are flawless. Weakness is where we're forced to rely on God and on each other.
There's a great line in there. Our strengths create competition, but our weaknesses create community.
That's it. It's so true. When you're strong, people compete. When you're weak, people connect. And the sources claim our most effective ministry actually comes out of our deepest hurts. God never wastes a hurt.
Which is the perfect lead-in to purpose number 4, service, ministry, using our shape.
Right. SHAPE is the acronym for how you're uniquely wired. It's your spiritual gifts, your heart or passions, your abilities, your personality, and your experiences.
And the point is that any ability, no matter how secular it seems, can be used for God's glory.
Any ability. It's not just about being a preacher. The sources give the example of kingdom builders.
The people who are really gifted at making money.
Yeah, but they do it in order to give it away, to build the kingdom. They're using their specific God-given abilities to fulfill their mission.
And that takes us to the final piece of the puzzle. The fifth purpose, the mission.
Which is described as mandatory. It's the Great Commission, not the Great Suggestion. And here's the crucial difference with this one.
That's sad.
Worship, fellowship, service, all of that will continue in eternity. But the mission, sharing the message with people who haven't heard it, that can only be done here on earth.
Wow. That puts an incredible urgency on it.
It does. The story of the dying minister father just drives that home.
In his last moments, all he kept repeating was,
Gotta save one more for Jesus. It's just this incredibly moving picture of the eternal stakes. It's the one part of our purpose that has a deadline.
So we have these 5 huge mandates: worship, fellowship, discipleship, ministry, and mission. How does a person even begin to juggle all of that?
Well, the material calls it a pentathlon. And the biggest challenge for you, for anyone, is maintaining the balance. We all tend to lean into the one or two we're most passionate about and neglect the others.
We get into a rut. So how do we avoid that? How do we keep these 5 vital signs in check?
2 practical habits are strongly recommended. First, regular spiritual checkups. You have to intentionally ask yourself, how am I doing in all 5 areas?
And a second,
Keeping a spiritual journal.
not just a diary, but a record of what you're learning.
Exactly. The argument is we're doomed to relearn the same painful lessons because we forget them. Writing them down helps you see your progress and holds you accountable.
So this whole journey, this whole framework, it really boils down to commitment and seeing the eternal consequences.
It's all about fulfilling your unique assignment. The sources point to the epitaph of David in the Bible. He served God's purpose in his generation. That's the measure of a successful life.
So as we wrap up, I guess the question for you to take away from this deep dive is, what will your life's epitaph say? Will it say that you served the purpose God had for you?
Because the final promise here is just. It's immense. There's almost nothing God won't do for the man or woman who is truly committed to serving the kingdom of God.